I keep forgetting to give thanks to the amazing Brian Tyler for that incredible opening little jingle there. Thank you, Brian. Ooh, that's good vodka. If you're watching us live, thank you so much for tuning in. Sorry for the delay. I want to thank American Airlines for nothing. That's right, nothing. Nothing. But delays. Phasing out routes and pilots. Oh, I've been with this airline for 25 years, since 1987, and I fear for their future, if not all of ours. What? First of all, I want to thank the folks at Cincinnati. That's where I came back from. Did you know Cincinnati, the largest Oktoberfest celebration in these United States, second only in the world to Germany, maybe even Bavaria, maybe the home of the first. But yeah, that was incredible. I was really impressed by the number of polite drunks. I found that inspiring. So I want to thank the folks, the fine folks that work so hard at the wonderful Funny Bone. Funny Bone. Really nice crew. Had a great time, and thanks everyone who came out to the shows. It was nice to meet almost all of you. On your way to Amazon.com, you say? Going to do a little light Christmas shopping? It is getting to be that time of year. Why not stop through the homepage of Kevin Pollak's chat show? We got a little banner there. We might throw it up for those of you watching to show you what it looks like on the homepage. If you're on your way to Amazon anyways, for those of you who've been asking, hey Kev, hey, how do I support the show? Well, here's how. You go to our homepage, kevinpollakschatshow.com, and you'll see the top of the homepage, there's a banner that says Amazon. You just tap that, boom, it'll take you to the homepage of Amazon, and then Amazon will send us 3 cents, and I'll send you a big thanks. I think it's 4 cents now. I think we got upped. Wow. I know. Shit adds up. No, it doesn't. Sammy, just when we thought we had him back, he's gone. Back to Philly.
And like that, gone.
Yeah. Nicely done. He's in Philly shooting the Do No Harm for the National Broadcasting
Or
Company.
maybe, since he's Mini Pollack, he'll just, pop out of you like a Russian nesting doll.
Wow. That would be impressive. If we could
I came up with that one this morning.
Did you?
Yeah.
That's why you're the head writer.
Did you like that?
Yeah. There's no off switch. So welcome back to us, and we're going to take the next couple of weeks off. So how will you be celebrating? You're going back home for a wedding.
Yes, my friend Robin is getting married in front of a shark tank at the Pittsburgh Zoo and Aquarium.
Maybe the coolest setting ever.
Yes.
You would think
she's a little crazy.
A cliff overlooking
She's good crazy, but
some kind of ocean, but I think this is going to win.
No, Shark Tank.
And what if there's an attack?
What, they're just going to burst through the tank?
Well, CGI.
And Samuel Jackson's going to be there. Be like, I've had it. I've had it for this shit.
And then they just grab him and they take the priest or the minister. Then you know there's trouble. Because then there are the devil's sharks. All right, well, you'll have to tell us more when we come back from that.
Did you hear about the fair yesterday?
Oh, yeah,
County
please.
Fair?
Which county fair did you go to? The Orange County? No.
L.A.
Los Angeles County.
Because I went with Mike Rotman, our director.
The Mike Rotman.
The Mike Rotman.
Our former director.
Our former director.
Uh-huh.
And some other pals.
And a bunch of pals, a group.
Yes.
A gangland. And
there were lots of animals. I saw a nice rooster.
Did you?
And
is there any prize-winning pig?
There was pigs of many sizes.
Ooh.
And of course, Mike's all like, you know what they need to do? They need to show these people slaughtering these pigs, and then everyone will become a vegetarian like me. That's what they need to do.
Wow, sounds exactly like it. It's uncanny. Nope.
Did you like that?
Yeah, yes, I did like that.
Meanwhile, then our friend Ian and I are like, oh, let's get some barbecue.
You're right. Let's ditch Mike and get some barbecue. Not Mike barbecue celery, really.
Yeah.
And so the highlight of the county fair must have been
my highlight was
walking around the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame.
There was like a fake Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, and then Ian and I had like just enough beers in us where we went around and we're like, oh, do you have this on vinyl? Yeah. Now, see, the reason why this label is really special. He works at Amoeba, which is a giant record store. So
the last record store in LA.
Yes. So he's like, oh, well, you know, this Columbia label, this is before they switched to this. It was interesting though.
He just gave him every male douche voice.
That's my voice for every guy.
I know, but that's not. He's so cool.
He's actually and he's very low, so he speaks very soft.
He's a soft talker.
He's a soft talker.
Yeah, which is my preference between the soft talker and the close talker. Do not care for the close talker. Hey, how's it going? Pretty good. How are you? Can we stop doing this? Yeah, I don't care for the close talkers. And they don't ever seem to get it, that they're right up in there. I had one on the elevator at the...
Oh, then you're trapped. You know what you got to do then? Then you got to like turn around and like stare, stare in the corner of the elevator, and then you freak them out, and he's like, "Why are they staring in the corner?" That was an old SNL skit.
Yeah, really?
Yeah.
Because for me,
not old, but like '90s SNL.
Well, that's old for your peeps. For me, it was a reminder of why the smartphone is the greatest invention.
Oh yeah, because you could.
In 100 years.
That's what I do whenever you're like at, let's say, like the 3rd Street Promenade or something, and then people are like harassing you to like sign a petition or whatever. Just be like,
stop the whales.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
Stop the whales.
One time I actually was like, all right, this is a cause I care about, and I stop and I talk to them, and then they ask for my credit card, and I'm like, you know what? Here's $1. And they're like, we don't want $1. We want your credit card. I'm like, wait, this is ridiculous. This is why I never stop. This is why I don't stop.
My favorite part is that you would be in some store and I'd be sitting on the bench like an idiot, and then the Orthodox would come up, peg me as a Jew, and say, would you like to hear the teachings of the Orthodox? Like they're gathering people there. You pegged me as a Jew, and I said, seriously, man, are you barking up the wrong tree here? No. Have you read the Torah today? No, I haven't read the Torah today. I'll bet you have. Get the hell away from me. Nobody wants to talk to an agnostic Jew. Okay, I think we're all cut up. Kenny, anything? Yeah, good, thanks.
How's Comedy Gold doing, Kenny?
How's Comedy Gold? Kenny's part of an improv group that we just found out that the name of the improv group is Comedy Gold, which I love. I love that name. You want to change it?
We're changing it.
Oh, man, I love it. Comedy Gold. No pressure at all. That's genius. All right, let's get right to the damn show, shall we, since we started so late. Unless you're watching us after the fact, which is 87.2% of our audience. We're not late at all, we're right on time. I first became aware of our guest today while tuning into one of my favorite shows, Boston Legal, which I then called Godzilla vs. Rodan, which is what Shatner and Spader kind of became at one point, and it was heaven on earth. And the supporting cast on a show like that, when you have two fantastically talented divas, you've got to have real great actors in there too to lift the story every week, while these two dressed up like chickens or pelicans or whatever they did from week to week in a very funny way. So our guest was, right in the thick of it, the thick of all of it, and also helped either re-ring or reintroduce the Friends with Privileges or something like that. Is that what it's called? Benefits. Friends with Benefits. Yeah. Thank you. Yeah, and the storylines that surrounded that, and then I can't. I'll just bring you right in because I want to jump right in. Mark Valley, thank you so much for being here.
Hey, glad to be here. God, you said that just like Charlie Rose. Thank you for being here. So quiet, you know.
Yeah, well, I try to keep it centered.
It is. Yeah.
Was it your storyline with the Friends with Benefits that brought in Craig Bierko, and then there was that trifecta situation? Good. I'm glad I can remember something after all these years, because that was an especially fun run for the audience, I thought.
Was it?
Yeah, because your character was just starting to have a little control over the situation, and then this knucklehead gets thrown in.
Yeah.
And we've had Craig on the show, and
God, he's hilarious.
One of the funniest human beings that ever walked.
One of the smartest people.
Crazy smart, and then just the right amount of a pinch of nuts, which I'm sure he'd be the first to celebrate.
Yeah.
Because it is that pinch of nuts in any artist that makes them original. Which boy is he? So, but on the show, he was just another hunky leading man coming in to stir the pot.
Craig?
Yeah.
Yeah. He had so much work to do. I mean, I remember they brought him in, and things were just sort of going well with my character and Julie Bowen's character. We're having a great time and doing these scenes, and this little love scene, and we're kind of working a little more, and it was feeling pretty good. And then they bring Craig in, and they gave him like 20 pages of dialogue per episode, and he's just
taping it to people's foreheads.
He's just insane. Yeah, he just had an insane amount of work to do, and it's long closings and quick repartee with Spader and everything, and you know, it was
Well,
a
that's
lot
one
of
of the
work for
things.
him. But God, we had such a good time though. It was fun working with somebody like him who was just such a,
Yeah.
you know.
Well, you spent some serious time honing the 40-page day in the world of soaps.
Oh yeah.
So,
yeah.
I imagine that prepared you almost more than anything for a show that is that well written or overwritten at times, the way that David E. Kelley works, which for an actor is a dream and a nightmare at the same time.
Yeah.
Because you kill for those words
Right.
in their particular order that only he can put them in,
Yeah.
and you feel like you're alive. I mean, I would imagine, as an actor.
Oh yeah, I mean there's a rhythm to it, and everything kind of makes sense, and it sort of drops a little pill of meaning in there for you that doesn't quite dissolve until the scene is over. You know, it's just
Yes.
really kind of well textured writing. And the cool thing about it that you don't have to worry about as an actor is you don't have to worry about looking like an idiot. You don't have to say,
Ever.
oh look, nobody would ever say,
Never.
you know, sure, hijinks or something. You know what I mean? It's like I'm not going to have to
Cahoots.
change the dialogue. Right, and it's a good thing because if you ever did come up with a suggestion to change it, they'd say, "Well, sure, we can do it that way, and we can come back and shoot it on Saturday." You know, it's your call.
Would they really?
Yeah,
That was the go-to?
That was kind of the go-to.
That was how
thing.
they
It's like-
talked you out of your
it's
silly
like, look,
idea?
David, he'll bring us back in to reshoot it on Saturday, so you can go ahead and do it your way.
Wow, you only have to hear that twice.
Yeah, you're gonna hear that twice.
Before you stop asking.
But you never have to because you're like, oh, okay, this is great.
Yeah, he seems like one of those guys who it's the ultimate for an actor. Close your eyes and fall back into his arms and just go. You're on for the ride.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, I was hoping you would agree, because as a viewer, that's what I want.
Is it?
As a viewer
Yeah.
who also happens to be an actor, I'm fantasizing about saying those words and being on a show that is that well written.
Yeah, well, sometimes, I mean, from a soap opera, I would go in to look at a scene and say, okay, how am I going to do this and not... You have different priorities depending on who the writers are, from my experience. Like,
Right.
like with the soap, I walk in and I say, okay, how am I not going to make an idiot out of myself in this scene?
Saying these ridiculous words
You know what I mean? How can I connect these dots into something kind of
while being a sexy priest.
coherent while being a priest playing racquetball with a girl in a bikini? So, you know, how
Was
can
that a scene?
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
great.
Yeah, she had like gym shorts on, but it was the early '90s, so it was kind of
Short shorts.
sort of a bikini. Yeah,
Uh-huh.
yeah, short shorts. Father Peter was his name.
There's no way Freud saw that coming.
You know?
Uh-uh.
Yeah, that was it. That was him. And it was weird walking around in a priest costume in the hallways. People would just kind of,
Sure.
you know, it would look a little guilty at you, you know.
Uh-huh.
What was I talking about before the priest and the racquetball?
Well, the challenge on the soap is how do I not look like an idiot with all
Yeah,
these
yeah.
words?
With David Kelley, he was just walk in and okay, how am I gonna? Oh, wow, I can see it. It sort of jumps off the page for you. So
Yeah.
just go in and play it, have fun.
And how many years? Were you?
I did that for 3 years, and then
Right.
I did Harry's Law for a year as well, last year. So
That's a hell of a
that's
Kelly
4
run.
years at David Kelley, right?
Yeah.
That's pretty good.
Pretty magical, actually.
I'm pretty happy about that.
Yeah. This was not the plan for you. Well, it was and it wasn't. According to the dossier, you started doing theater in high school. But prior to that,
Yeah.
I mean, a little bit, not a lot. I mean, let me ask you, when you were doing a little bit of theater in high school, were there any thoughts of this might be what I do someday?
Oh no, I
No.
didn't really think it could be something I.
You were chasing skirt.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was an extra in a play.
Ah,
In a high school
no wonder it
play.
says that in your dossier.
Yeah, yeah. So that's what I did.
Yeah, and playing sports like crazy.
Just played sports. Yeah, just wanted to get through high school and go to college and start my life. Yeah.
Right. 3 sisters.
3 sisters.
I have one older brother.
Uh-huh.
I don't know a lot about what it's like to grow up in a woman's house, which I imagine when there's 3 sisters, they've got to take over at some point.
Yeah, they do.
Right?
They do.
Okay.
Yeah. It's sometimes the whole. And you have to kind of. You have to live in a house with several rooms to be able to kind of leave a room and go somewhere else.
Yes. When there's 3 girls.
When there's 3 girls.
Because they start sounding like chickens at some point.
Chickens and yeah, and you don't want to change their topic all the time just because you're the only guy there. You know what I mean? It's like you don't want to be like, okay, you can't talk about whatever feminine products when I'm in the room because it's
Yeah.
just not that that's all they talk about, but if it does come up, I don't want to have to
Not when you're 12.
influence that. Now you're 12 now.
Right. Varying ages, the sisters?
Oh yeah, they're all younger than me. I have one sister's about a year younger,
Right.
Lynn, and then Marnie's 5, and then Jennifer's like 13 years younger than me.
So was there any protective behavior at school when you would, at some point in high school, you say 1 year older for the oldest sister?
Oh, 1 year. She was 1 year younger.
Well, I mean 1 year younger. So you're
Yeah.
1 year older. So when she's like a junior.
Well, my sister, she was always like a little taller than me and
Ah.
kind of bigger than me.
Okay.
Yeah, there was one instance when we were in grade school where she like punched a guy in the face,
Sure.
and we had the same mittens that my grandmother had sewed, and I got in trouble for it. Right?
Really?
Because the guy said he got hit by red mittens, and I wasn't about to say my sister knocked him on his ass. I was like, yeah, I hit him. Yeah.
Was there a flurry of red mittens?
We were kind of coming in after recess, and he was like saying something to her, and she turned around and just like clocked him right in the face. And it was like winter, and he slipped down the ice.
So
and
when he woke up,
he just went down. He looked up and saw me there, and I was like, don't
You give
mess
one of
with
these?
her. Yeah. Again, it was a Catholic school, and I remember she was yelling at me like, how could you've been in enough, this or that. We don't want to see you in any more fights. And da, da, da. I was like, oh, it wasn't even me, it was my sister. And you blame it on your sister,
on top of it.
On top of it, yeah. So they can take care of themselves.
Yeah, clearly.
Yeah.
Let's. I want to know about your time in Germany, because you did a little bit of stage and TV work there.
Right. Yeah.
Yes. I'm sure you've been just bombarded with the West Point stuff. So maybe we'll come back to the West Point stuff. But I am fascinated about. You're stationed in Germany.
Mm-hmm.
And somebody suggests that you should try some acting, and is this an agent or
You're going to say drugs or
a
something.
manager? Well,
somebody comes up and says, "Do you
Try
wanna
this."
Yeah.
is it an agent or a manager or somebody that
Well, I was getting out of the Army. I'd already sort of started the paperwork to get out, and I was in my last year. And I wasn't sure what I was going to do. I was really into photography, and I was thinking, oh, maybe I'll be a journalist, And I was living in Europe, and then I thought, oh, maybe I'll just keep studying as an engineer and study. I was in a master's program for systems management, telecommunications. It's like, I'll be a management consultant, drive a Porsche, and speak languages.
Wow, got it all figured out.
Fast. I'll be like a private sector James Bond.
Are you like 24?
I was about 28 at the time.
Okay.
28, and so I'm in grad school, and then somebody comes up to me like in the PX, and it's like, look, there's a film coming to town, and we're looking for real soldiers. PX is like the place where soldiers shop near the base.
The general store.
Yeah, it's like our Walmart. We
Sure.
get everything there. So I was in there, and he's like, look, do you want to be an extra? And I'm like, oh, that sounds like fun, So I signed up to be an extra on a movie with Anthony Hopkins
Yeah.
and Isabel Rossellini, and Campbell Scott was in it, and a lot of people.
Is Schlesinger film?
John Schlesinger directed it.
Big
Yeah.
time.
Big time, yeah.
Yeah.
So, do you want to hear my story?
Please.
About that? Yes. So I show up and I'm sitting there in this holding tank, this kind of dark holding tank. We're all dressed like soldiers from the 50s. It was about, some surveillance that they'd done underneath the Berlin Wall in the 50s or something. It was a kind of a period piece. It was based on an Ian McKellen thriller novel, murder and stuff like that. But anyway, I'm waiting to go on the set, and the AD comes out and he's like, okay, you, come out here. And then he says, you sit right here at this table. So I sit down. He goes, stir your coffee, read your Saturday Evening Post. I'm like, all right, so I start stirring my coffee, reading the Saturday Evening Post, and action. And this is the first time on a film set ever. And over in this corner is this one actor talking on a payphone. And this is like a canteen set up with a bunch of soldiers milling about. And he's like talking on the phone and yelling. And then I look over to the other side because this guy goes, hey, quiet down. And I look over and it's Campbell Scott or something.
You don't recognize him.
I don't recognize him. I'm like, well, what's going on over here?
What's his problem?
And then the other guy's like, why don't you shut the fuck up? And I was like, well, what's good? And I was like, whatever. And I go back to the magazine and I hear this cut. And then up comes like John Schlesinger. I didn't even know who he was. I'd heard about him. This is a John Schlesinger film. So I thought, oh, let me see, how do I know John Schlesinger? They said, yeah, he made this movie called what's the one where the Nazis burn and fire and stuff? Marathon Man.
Yeah.
So anyway, he's like, hello, have you ever done any acting before? And I was like, no. no. Good. Could you do exactly what you just did again on the second take? I'm like, yeah. We're going to put the camera behind your head and kind of use your head to lead us to this and then lead us to him when they talk.
He saw a natural instinct in your
saw a
movement.
natural instinct in my movement, which, you know, I've never been able to kind of repeat that. and I was like, yeah, that's the best moment I ever had as an actor, yeah, so he did that, but...
Certainly the most pure and organic.
The
Talk
most
about
organic,
being in the
last
moment.
real in the moment I've ever had in my career, yeah.
That is so not true and very, very sad.
Yeah.
So were you on that a few more days and get a sense of more?
I was pretty. Well, here's the thing, and then Anthony Hopkins sits down across from me. Hi, Tony. I'm like, Gaw. You know, Hannibal Lecter had just won the Academy Award the year before. You know.
Good God.
I was Good God. I said, good God, you're Anthony Hopkins. And,
but he said Tony.
He's like, yeah, I'm Tony.
Yeah.
I was like, you're in the Army? I was like, yeah. Engineer? Yeah, where are you? Oh, field artillery. Oh, yeah. And then Schlesinger sits down, too. And I was a good-looking guy.
Sure.
Back in the day.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Of course.
You know what I mean?
Right.
You know, I can turn heads, Kev. That's all I'm going to say. You know what I mean? So he sits down.
Yeah, I didn't see that in the dossier
But I
at
get
all.
a funny story about him later, because he sits down and he's like, so, Mark, have you ever seen any of my films? And I was like, yeah, as a matter of fact, I saw The Marathon Man. I thought that was great. Like, you know, Roy Scheider, when he was running inside that track in that prison, and when he finally got out and they couldn't catch him. I mean, I ran a lot of track when I was in school. I was a distance runner, and when he got out of that prison, it kind of inspired me that it would actually pay off. I was bullshitting my head. Like, it would really pay off, you know? And he's like, oh, yeah, thank you. And then a little while later, we're back in the wardrobe, and one of the other exes was like, dude, you were talking to John Schlesinger, the director. What'd you say? And I was like, well, I was talking about Marathon Man. I told him, you know, when Roy Scheider was jogging inside, he goes, what? I was like, yeah, when he's running inside the track, and he got, dude, that was the Jericho Mile. That wasn't the marathon. I'm like, oh.
Yeah.
But then somebody comes in and it's like, oh, can Mark Valley come back for another couple of weeks? Mr. Schlesinger wants to know if you can do another sequence or another scene. Or
And then you guys lived together for a little while.
we lived together for, we had a kid. We had 2 kids. He was deaf, so it was difficult breaking up and leaving him with the kid. But,
Well,
you
he didn't know.
I had to do it. It had to be done. But it was funny because later on I was studying acting, and I had to get like a recommendation to, you know, to get into any sort of acting school. I wanted to go to Stella Adler and whatever. And I was like, oh, I'll get a recommendation from John Schlesinger, all right, and he'll remember me and all that. And he writes me back and he's like, yeah, I'll give you a recommendation, Mark, but I wouldn't use my name very much again in the future. People might get the wrong idea.
Really?
Yeah, what a sweet thing to say. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I was like, wow, you know. But I mean, it was nice.
Sparingly,
Yeah.
he was suggesting.
Yeah, he's like, you don't want to throw that around to him. People might get the wrong idea that we had a kid together or something. You know what I mean? So
Right.
I was like, yeah.
But what a great first outing! My goodness.
Oh my God, yeah, yeah. And it was, you know, it was in Berlin, and it was exciting, and there's all these extras from all over the world because the wall had just come down. So,
Do you think that experience resonated to such a degree that it became crystal clear?
It really planted a seed because I remember. I think they asked me to come back for like 3 extra days, and I was making maybe 50 Deutschmarks a day or something, and which was, you know, incredible money at the time for me. And I remember talking to this professor and saying, look, I'm not going to make it for our midterms or whatever because I think I want to be an extra.
You didn't say I want to be an actor?
No, I want to be. I remember watching Anthony Hopkins and seeing him just sort of transform. And we had to do these scenes where he was playing this kind of, and he's such a really kind of quiet and centered and sweet man, and he was just playing this boisterous, kind of mean drunk, and he just shifted on a dime like that. And to watch it, I thought, oh, this isn't really that sort of flaky profession that I thought was something that people did in Hollywood or on the stage in New York. This could be a real job, and you could be respected for it as well.
He makes it look like a noble profession, yes.
He does, yeah.
I don't, but people like
yeah.
I remember I was in New York once, and I went to see James Earl Jones in Fences on Broadway. And I remember at intermission, in a panic, I rushed to the phone, the payphone. This was many years ago.
Right.
Called the only friend I had in New York at the time, which was Dana Carvey, who was working on Saturday Night Live. And I called him in a panic saying, I can never call myself an actor. I can never call myself an actor. I just kept repeating it like like a freak. And he's trying to talk me off the clock tower with the M16, and he's,
Yeah.
what's the matter? What's the matter? I said, I'm at this matinee of James Earl Jones doing Fences, and watching him on stage, it's crystal clear to me now. I will never transform anything, any moment, like what's taking place in front of me. And Dana said the most profound thing at the time, which is, relax, we're comedians. Don't worry about it.
Yeah.
Little did I know.
Let me change your mantra to, I will never be James Earl Jones.
That's
I will
right.
never be James Earl Jones.
Yeah, yeah. Well, that's exactly right. And you can either be inspired by that sort of level, or haunted by it. So I was curious in going through the sort of timetable, because it's not too long after that you go to New York and do begin studying. Does that mean you also became a waiter?
Yeah. I got fired as a waiter. I remember these, No, I went to, I remember going to this, I was like getting out of the Army, and and I'd gone to see this play. I think it was 6 Degrees of Separation, and there was one line where it just struck out like lightning in my chair. Everybody has these stories, or how they were struck in the desert, and the guy says, your imagination isn't something you should be trying to avoid. It's your passport to reality.
Oh,
I was like, whoa.
That's Timothy Leary.
Yeah.
Stuff.
I was like, whoa.
Yeah.
And I think from that point on, I'd sort of felt the quickening. Like this is something I really want to do. I had gone back to Berlin after I left the Army, and just kind of slept on people's couches, and took acting classes there with this German instructor, who after a few months just told me, I was there for about 6 months as a civilian, and he was like, Mark, it is time for you to go to study with your people. You have to go.
Wow.
It was like Yoda kicking me out of the swamp. Like it's time to go back. And as I mythologize my life, these are the characters that kind of come. These are the characters that come together.
But
then I went to New York. Yeah.
Well, let me ask you: Did that character show up at all when you wrote the? Was it a one act or just a one man show?
One man show. Yeah.
Walls, Whiskey, and War, or something?
Walls, Wars, and Whiskey.
Walls, Wars, and Whiskey. I would like to think he showed up in it.
No, because that sort of ended. That didn't have anything to do with me becoming an actor. That was just like why I went into the Army,
right.
what I did, and then there's some time I spent in the Gulf War, and there's a combination of stories of myself and other people, and then like why I got out, more or less.
So you wrote that piece and performed it for a while.
Yeah, I did it at a Fringe festival.
It was a part
in
of the
Minneapolis,
festival.
and I also did it in LA just for a couple of nights, and then I did it, I think, in my hometown for a benefit. But I only really did it a few times. It was one of those shows that was just really exhausting, and after I had done it, I felt like, oh, this was something I wanted to do for myself, to perform.
Yeah.
And I sort of felt like, okay, I'm done with it.
It was 17 years of therapy in a matter of months.
Yeah, just like, I mean, that whole period had haunted me in some ways, and I kind of wrote this thing and did it, and then now it's just sort of sitting on the shelf, a VHS.
Good luck finding a place.
The sound's getting worse and worse.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
Seriously, put it on DVD before it's too late.
Okay.
Maybe digital. Maybe bypass DVD and go right to digital. So writing that obviously is a cathartic expression and a way to give these memories and moments of voice, and having it separate from yourself. But what about the writing experience itself? Did it leave you with a desire to continue writing?
Oh, absolutely.
And how's that?
How's that going?
Yeah. But I mean, what?
Yeah.
Because it seems like you wrote something so personal that it had such a life of its own that it wasn't. It seems to me, as daunting as it was to perform maybe the first time and to have some of these thoughts go down on paper, so personal, so close to your own experience, that in some ways, I wonder if writing fiction becomes more of a challenge. Because they say for writers, write what you know. That's the first thing in order to learn the craft, is write what you know, write what you know, write what you know, which you did extraordinarily. And then what about attacking fiction?
Well, I think after that I started trying to write fiction. I was working a lot. I mean, after I did that show, I more or less started.
The nonstop television
It's
work?
been like a decade of nonstop television work.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And but I have. I mean, I think I wrote like one. You know, wrote a couple of drafts of different scripts, but it never really. Yeah, nothing that I really kind of focused in on and spent a lot of time doing. Not like in the past year, I've been writing a lot more.
Right.
And but I find that I haven't gone into fiction. I'm still kind of writing. And that story was sort of, it was a personal story, and then it became sort of fictionalized around the edges, you know.
Yeah.
And but I've been getting back into it in the past year or 2 years, and yeah, it's just really fulfilling.
It is, isn't it?
Yeah, it's
I mean, it's daunting and intimidating as a rule, but getting lost in your own characters and their stories, I find to be.
Yeah, especially writing memoir. I'm finding that to be really not that I'm writing my autobiography or something, but writing in that particular genre, I think. People say, yeah, write what you know, but the more I write, the less I find out, wow, there's a period where I feel like I don't know anybody or, you know, myself. Like, wait a sec, where is my voice in this? Who am I? Or who was I back then? You know, so, yeah, it's challenging.
And so you did study in New York, the acting.
Right.
And what was your experience like there? Because I started out in stand-up comedy, so I'm always perpetually fascinated by the acting class.
Right.
As an excuse to protect myself from being found a fraud, I would shun acting class, saying, why isn't the teacher working? Why am I going to learn from a not working actor?
Right.
That's the way I would protect myself, because it's a
Yeah.
pack of lies, and you can actually learn a tremendous amount.
Yeah.
So I'm forever fascinated by people's experience in acting.
I'm fascinated with comics who don't go to acting classes.
Really?
Yeah. I mean, I mean, a lot of, you just go up there and you just empty. The best jokes are the ones that are walking that line of humor and humiliation.
Yes.
And it's like, man, when you're used to that razor on your feet, why can't you go into an acting class? Or why wouldn't you want to try it? You know, it's almost like it's like sometimes I feel that if I'm playing a role where I'm kind of on an edge or something, in my other life, I don't want to be taking a lot of chances. You know, it's like, here's where I'm juggling the balls. I don't want to be doing it.
Right.
Here. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, it could be a case of, for me, I felt like I was fascinated by acting first as a child, watching actors in movies. I wasn't sure how to get from there.
But dude, you're a fantastic actor, though.
Well, I'm not going to argue with you.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? That's not my place.
I just realized. Wait a sec, you're Kevin fucking Pollack.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Dude, you don't worry about the classes. Next question. Where
no. I learned while I earned. You know, that's one way to do it. And because I learned presence that I would bring into auditions, because ultimately, if you just show enough confidence and you don't run into the furniture too bad, you do well in auditions. So the bold sort of confidence that I learned from stand-up on stage, where I could face drunks and get through that, then walking into executive offices was like considerably easier. But the technique and the training was something I had to learn from the greats when I finally got hired, and I would study people like J.T. Walsh and other great character actors. It just blew my mind, you know.
Right.
So I think that, and maybe also I was never that big of a fan of school in general, which a lot of comics, well, not a lot, but some tend to be, you know.
Well, it was a great way to meet girls, though. So I don't know. You missed out.
Yeah, because that stand-up comedy, that's the.
You can. You can. Yeah.
So now, but you're doing the one-man show. That's you had a window into the soul of the solo performer, in terms of that tightrope. When there's no other actors on stage.
Yeah.
And it's up to you to take the audience for a ride.
Right.
Of your choosing, because you also wrote it. Was that as fulfilling, not just in a cathartic way, but as a performer as well? Did you feel strength from that?
Oh yeah, and I never forgot it, and I always remembered. Oh, okay. If any, it's like a life preserver for me. If anything ever, if I feel bored or I feel like I need a challenge, or if I'm not, that is something that I can do again, and I'll feel rejuvenated, because it doesn't feel. There's still so much more to that. There's still so much.
I would think.
Yeah, I just remember feeling, wow, I can always go back to this because this is exciting. I don't care how much I get paid or don't get paid. This is exciting.
It must have been thrilling. Mm-hmm. Not necessarily as thrilling as being the fourth actor to play Jack Devereaux.
Yeah, yeah.
How much did the fans hate you at first? Just because you were the fourth?
Yeah, they didn't like me.
I mean, how could they not?
Yeah.
Well, you're just the new guy. You're just fucked from that moment.
Yeah.
Simply because you're replacing someone that they really, really, really liked.
Wow, you guys did do your research, didn't
We're
you?
not fucking around. We're not fucking around.
You're not messing around.
The fourth, though. But then you did it
fourth.
But then you did that for like 3 years. So
I
clearly,
did it for 2.5 years.
You were embraced at some point.
Yeah, they liked me.
Yes, they did.
They did. They liked me.
So what was that transition like? Because Father Peter didn't have that kind of run.
Father Peter didn't get a big run. No.
No.
He was kind of limited,
as it were. Aren't most Peters?
Right off the bat. Yeah.
But 2.5 years, that's where I think the 40 pages a day chops.
Yeah.
That will serve you for the rest of your life.
That was like, okay, walking up the stairs with a cup of coffee with a paragraph like this going. Okay.
Seriously.
You know what I mean? After so many years, you're just, because I had the theory after a while, because I would study it the night before, and then I thought, and I was pretty arrogant when I first started. I'm so humble now, but I remember thinking, I don't want to be going to sleep at night with this writing in my head. That's just the way it is.
Really?
I want to learn it in the morning. I want to figure out a way to learn, get up early in the morning, learn it, and then perform it.
Okay, here's how bad my skill is. Or rather, here's how great my memorization skill is, and here's how badly trained now I am as an actor.
Yeah.
I don't look at the page till I'm in makeup.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's nice.
I mean, I read a script at least 15 to 20 times before I start any job. All my research, all my training, all my technique goes into reading that script and knowing everything forward and backwards, but not memorizing it like a play, just being crazy comfortable with all the scenes, and I understand what I want to accomplish. I'll make some notes, but it's always those little stupid sides that I put in the trailer, and I'm sitting in the makeup. What am I doing today? I am.
That's what it ends up.
And then I go, fuck, I got 3 pages to do. I really should have looked at this last night.
Yeah.
But what happens is, and I'm curious, the reason I bring it up because I'm curious for you with that kind of training. What happens is when you are able to then nail those 3 pages and make it alive and fresh and not stumbling and making mistakes, but you rather live and benefit from the freshness, then you start to count on it, and then that's how you get excited. Perhaps, and by the way, I've been number 1 on the call sheet a couple of times. It's not like I'm just phoning in the 7th lead here.
Yeah.
So I'm wondering, once you develop that kind of skill to walk up the stairs with a cup of coffee and look at a page and go, okay, let's go. And having made the decision, I don't want to have this in my head when I go to sleep. You've now been at this in 1 hour drama pretty much nonstop for a decade or more.
Right.
Definitely more. Where do you find your thrills in terms of the material, just for that day's work, in other words?
My memorization process, first of all?
Yeah.
Now, I'll if I have 1 or 2 lines, or a page where you have like 3 lines or something, I'll wait till that morning. I'll wait till the morning and just do it. If it's like a little bit of a paragraph, I just I just go to work and don't try to embarrass myself. I want to be able to hit it on the first couple of takes, and then what's fun and that doesn't always happen. But what I think is fun is also, yeah, it's usually around the third or fourth take where you'll do a couple, everybody kind of gets it right, and the blocking is right, and then you start seeing what this other person is doing. They see what you're doing, and then and then you don't know what they're going to do in a way.
Right.
Right.
And then as soon as you start to find the magic.
As soon as you feel like you find the scene, you've got it, and then you do it, and then like something else kind of changes. You don't really know what it
surprises
is.
you.
It surprises you a little bit.
And then you're surprising the director.
But I don't
says-
like being surprised. But I generally, when it does come off,
Well, I
I
would
always expect
think
it.
the military background would make you a little bit of a control freak.
Well, it gives me good. I'm good at working with control freaks. You know what I mean? Because I'm
Right.
used to, I mean, people say, "Oh my God, how could you go from being in the Army to being an actor?" It's like, well, an actor, you kind of wear what they tell you to wear. You kind of stand where they tell you to stand. You
take
sort of
orders.
say what they tell you to say, and you kind of do what they tell you to do.
Yeah, your posture
You know?
might be a little
Yeah,
more
and
slack.
you can sort of, you can find your own identity or your own interpretation within those parameters. And the Army was a lot like that as well. You had to work within rules. But yeah, working with control freaks. Yeah.
Did you ever have a Sergeant Toomey from Biloxi Blues? Did you ever cross paths with one of those? Do you know who I'm talking about?
No.
The Christopher Walken character in Biloxi Blues?
Oh yeah.
When he has
Yeah.
that scene where he's drunk with Matthew Broderick and he's got his
Oh, good. And then against the urinal, he's
hand
like,
gun. Yeah. I mean, that
Isn't that great?
that froze me in terms of the pecking order of power in a structured institution like that. Grunt versus.
Yeah. I had one platoon sergeant. Oh man, he used to get on my case, and he had this guy who'd he'd been in Vietnam and
He was in the shed.
yeah, we were in the field, and he was always like getting on me, like, Lieutenant, maybe you should think about this. Lieutenant, maybe you should. And then the rest of the platoon would laugh, and I took a Humvee to a meeting instead, and it was his Humvee, but I had to get there quick. And he was like, Lieutenant, you can't take me. And I was like, okay. And I got really pissed at him. And he's like, well, you can't get out of it. And I was like, I don't give a fuck about Vietnam. I don't give a fuck what you did there or what you saw. You know what I mean? It just went off on the guy. He pushed me to the point
You
where
lost
I
it.
just lost it with him, And he's like this. And when I finished, he goes, all right, down at T, whatever you say. It turns out like that was his objective, to get me to the point where
You weren't going to take it.
I wouldn't take it anymore. I mean, because a lot of times you have these young 20-year-old lieutenants coming in and working for guys who are 30, 40, 35, veterans. And,
Right.
and I remember that guy, him just starting to laugh. And I was like, ugh.
Son of a bitch.
And it was done. Then it was,
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, and have you found a director like that? Can
A
you
director
imagine
like
taking
that?
a director's head off if he came at you like that? Because I've seen it happen. In fact, I remember, oh God, I remember running into an actor who just worked with Oliver Stone,
Right. Right.
who has a bit of reputation. Likes to push actors to get to a place that he wants them to be instead of letting them get there on their own.
Yeah.
And there's no reason to drop names, but this one particular actor who's incredible and renowned wanted to kill him. Just literally
Oh, yeah.
wanted to physically destroy his face. And I always felt like, well, life's too short for that, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
The gig's not that great.
Yeah.
That I'm going to get yelled at in order to find a performance. I don't think
Right.
I'm going to last more than a minute doing that.
Yeah. I don't like that.
Right?
You know what I mean?
Now, in our drama, which is a writer's medium, you're facing different directors all the time. Maybe sometimes a nice director will find a home base and return. But it's not really a director's medium, or so they say.
No. I mean, it could be a sort of a producing director's medium. I mean, if you have a director that comes back several episodes throughout a
Or did the pilot and
a
then
season. Yeah, those directors seem to have a little more influence on what's going on. But the final call is the producer, but it's you don't see that. You don't really have time, the kind of luxury of, taking the whole cast of The Outsiders out somewhere, living at a camp for a week and getting them to fight each other. You know what I mean?
I imagine with Kelly, you want to hit all the thes and the A's correctly.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Is it one of the...
and, yeah.
Because you're inspired to, or you know there's a wrath waiting around the corner if you don't?
Because I find it sometimes it's easier just to memorize it the way it's written. I mean, script supervisors are probably would, if they're watching this, would be like, oh yeah, exactly, Mark, right? But I find sometimes it's just easier to, to just memorize it exactly the way it's written, because then you don't have to worry about paraphrasing it in your head. You just take it from the page, and you don't have to make any of those grammatical decisions.
And especially if you have the words from the likes of David E. Kelley.
Yeah.
I find memorize it as is for no other reason than to keep the script supervisors off your back. Now, just to stop them from coming up and
so
saying,
you can,
you didn't. I mean,
it's like you're interrupting my story that you're talking to a cast member. It's like, yeah, I know so and so, and Mark, you're like, yeah.
I see.
So anyway,
this is my problem. I've become so unintentionally dismissive to the script supervisor that I end up having to have a very clear heart-to-heart, letting him know that it's not intended this way. Please don't take it personally.
Now get the fuck out of my face.
I know you have a job to do, and yours is very, very important because you're answering to the number one, the director. But seriously, get the fuck away from me.
Get out of my face right now.
Yeah.
I find myself having to apologize, usually about a few times a week.
Yeah.
I try to keep, I like 3 a week. I try to keep it down. The apologies. I don't want
Yeah.
I mean, I'll do whatever the hell I want, but.
Right. Yeah. When you go from the David E. Kelley world to the J.J. Abrams world,
Right.
I mean, he's not a writer-producer. This is a vastly different world. Oh, first, I don't want to bury the lead. Any stories you can share with us with Sebastian Roche?
Who?
That was the answer I was hoping for. What was the character Sebastian played on Fringe? Wasn't he going back to Fringe?
Yeah, I don't know. I never watched that show.
And what's
I just know his name from General Hospital.
Yeah, Jeffrey Jacks?
Jerry Jacks.
Jerry Jacks. There's a friend of ours, this wonderful actor, Sebastian, who did...
He played a villain on Fringe,
Yeah, he played a villain that kind of went in and out of dimensions. I just thought maybe he would ring a bell if you... Yeah, he's got a phony British accent.
It's not phony.
I'm busting chops. So, give me a little bit of Spader. I'm going to save the Shatner. Give me a little bit of... first of all, you knew him from his earlier work as a film actor. What sort of expectations going into that? Because some of his, well, I'm going to say closing arguments, some of his closing arguments were so ridiculously well crafted that his job as an actor became, you can't fuck this up.
Oh.
You cannot fuck this up.
You mean?
You need to just say these words as they're written. And then he developed a style.
You're kind of talking like him.
That was very...
Well, it's interesting. I just used to watch him.
Right.
I mean, and he's not a really chatty guy between takes or anything, and he's really serious about his work. I used to just watch him, and because everything looks just seamless when you're done, and it was sort of a relief to watch him. And he has his photographic memory as well, which is and it's in there. But he would work out little moments where we'd see him rehearsing it in the first for marks or something, and then there was the night of this, and he would you'd see him like it wasn't this or it wasn't this, it was this, and he would practice this move and lift his head, and everything was connected. His movements were connected to all the words all the way through, so it wasn't this disjointed, distracting thing, which I think is one of the reasons he's so compelling. Is his work is so specific.
His instrument is definitely connected.
Which note or which hand or it was great watching him.
That's a pretty great tool in terms of, because he must have had 2-3 page monologues in his summation.
And I think sometimes those are little posts you can put along. I know. So if I have to memorize something longer, if I put movement into it, then it becomes more of a dance as well, and it helps your body remember it. Just standing there talking, I can't. I don't like the standing talking scenes, you know. So
Right.
But he's fascinating.
Yeah.
The way his work was so specific like that.
And then Shatner.
Yes. And then there was Mitch.
First of all,
but you have a great William Shatner impersonation.
But how about he
You have a
turned
classic one.
83 in April? I
Like
mean,
a blip on the
he's
radar.
defying all medical science.
He is.
Granted, he's
Yeah.
blown up like a poisoned dog. Well, now I'm doing my act. Sorry.
Do you have a Shatner thing in your? You have a Shatner bit?
A little bit, yeah.
I've seen your impersonation.
I might have.
It's hilarious.
I might have. Well, he's seen it too, and that's the real surreal part, is that he's sort of become this bizarre surrogate father, who you know, is okay with his son taking over the family business, basically, which is
Right.
him. And I went to see. Have you seen his one-man show, The Shatner's
Yes.
Universe?
Yes.
We just live in it or something? Well, it started in New York on Broadway. He did like a 2-week run there, or maybe a 3-week run there. And I happened to be in New York at the time and went. And I called his office to get tickets. And I'm at brunch ahead of time. This is all, by the way, in my first book called How I Slept My Way to the Middle. It comes out in November. It's actually true.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, great.
So the phone rings while I'm at brunch before we're going to the matinee of Shatner show, and it's a call from him. And I'm with a friend, so I didn't get it until it was a voice message. So then listening back to it, Kevin, listen, so you come backstage before the show, and then we'll talk about what we're going to do when you come on stage. How we're going to kibitz, and they'll come and get you from your seat. You'll be in the wings. You'll come out, and then we'll get some laughs. I don't know. This is the first time I'm hearing of this in this voice message, and he's talking as if it had been mapped out.
Yeah.
So sure enough, it goes down exactly like that. And I thought his one-man show was extraordinary. I mean, I'm as biased as anyone could be, having spent 25 years inside his head. So what was your experience like, having worked with him and become co-workers and all that stuff?
Yeah, I just love watching that show. It was fantastic.
Right.
And but there were things about him that I hadn't really known before. I mean, I knew that he lived in the trailer for a little, had did the dinner theater for a while, and I'd known him, personally from some other things, and he's really just a great guy to work with. He's just like one of the guys.
Yeah.
And
well, that's great to hear. I've never actually worked with him.
like at work, it's like, hey, how are you today? How are you doing?
Yeah.
All right, good day. Oh, what do you got today? Oh, yeah, we'll just do that. There's nothing kind of, he's not a hothouse flower or anything,
No.
It's like he's there to work and have a good time. And have you tried the Montreal smoked meats we got today? Something like, oh yeah, great.
Yeah.
And he's just a great guy to work with like that. So when I saw the one-man show, I was really inspired by his this one message that came out of it to me was, I can make it work.
Yes.
That one when I got a job, I'm going to get shot in the back.
Yeah.
And he's been doing Star Trek for so long. That was the one story that really struck out for me. It was stuck for me. It's, this is his iconic character, and they want to shoot him in the back.
And they want to kill him by shooting him in the back.
Right.
Spoiler alert, if you haven't seen the movie that came out 10 years ago, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And then him just going through that, and I think at that moment, that's like a defining moment for somebody. I mean, I've had to look at his life, and I think like, wow, that's a moment where he said, all right, ego, we'll put you right there. I can make this work.
Yeah.
And I think, from that moment on, he's just had a completely different. I mean, I think that's why he's just been able to kind of put his ego aside like that.
Yeah.
Or climb over it.
Uh-huh. Yeah. At
or
times.
climb in it and
Yeah.
be like, well, I can still make this work.
Right.
Whatever it was, I just thought, wow, that ability to, to kind of roll with the punches, but still make it your own fight as well, I thought was, wow.
Well, that's an interesting term right there. Roll with the punches and still make it your own fight. I don't think I've heard it put that way. Maybe that's something that...
Just made it up.
Well,
Wow.
that's
you go.
that's you know what that is? That's comedy gold.
There you go. I like Page 99. That's a good name for a comedy troupe.
There you go.
You got the hat already.
Roll with the punches, but make the fight your own.
But
See,
it's still your own fight.
yeah.
I guess,
See,
yeah.
that is him. But you're right. That is a great way to sort of take a bite out of things.
Yeah, yeah.
Because you do, at some point, you have to make peace with making it work. I can make this work, and rolling with the punches. It's when you're a younger man, I think, and you fight the notion of having to make it work.
Yeah. Yeah, if you're still like,
And
when he decides to make it work, it's like, I'm going to make this work.
Yeah, and also the lesson might be, I'm going to make this better. By giving in to having to make it work. I'm now going to give it my everything, and so on and so forth.
Yeah.
So you're in Vancouver shooting Fringe.
The pilot was shot in Toronto. Yeah.
And then the
The
series.
series ended up. I think the first season was in New York, and then that was all I did.
Really?
Yeah.
So you didn't shoot there in Vancouver at all?
I did a show called Human Target after that
I see.
in Vancouver for 2 years.
Well, I know you did that show, so that's where you spent. That's when you did your time in Vancouver.
Yeah.
I see.
Yeah.
I don't know why I thought Fringe shot in Vancouver.
It did. It moved and went from New York to Vancouver eventually. Yeah.
Okay. So how often were you eating at Cipino's? I have to know when you're in Vancouver.
I'd never been there.
What?
Wait a second. Cipino's.
The Italian place with the two brothers. One's the chef in the kitchen.
Oh yeah, yeah. I've been there a few times.
Yeah. Celestino is the guy that made D out front.
Oh, I love that place.
Yeah. See, I can't. I did a movie with Joe Mantegna there in Vancouver, and he said, "Here's where we're going," and then these guys just became friends for life. And
Really?
then, yeah, just the best.
It's a beautiful place.
Gorgeous, and the wine selection's insane. And Pino, the chef brother, was the one chosen to cook for the Pope when the Pope came to Toronto in the 90s. Yeah, of all the chefs in the country. So that bodes well.
Well, you are like Shatner, aren't you?
Can't help it.
That's exactly the way you would describe it. You're like, they have a chef. Cook for the Pope.
Everything's definitive?
Yeah. Best elk medallions I've ever had in my life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He really is kicking life square in the nuts, though. That's the inspiration I got from
really
him.
Is.
Give me some positive insight into working with someone who chose to call himself McG. He directed the pilot of Human Target.
Yeah. Yeah. Well,
Are we going to come up snake eyes on this role?
Choosing to call himself McG. Yeah. I didn't really meet him. He's a really great guy. I just don't know why he's called him. It's like me walking and be like, hey, Spider.
Well,
just call me Spider. Like, what? You don't look like a spider, you know.
I will quote Dana Carvey yet again, who, when Sting was popular, said, his name's Gordon in real life. So when he went to his friends and said, fellas, I've changed my name to Sting. I'm sure they had something to say about that.
Like, all right, and so you take us a bit to get used to this, right?
Yeah.
Sting as in,
Right. You sure you don't want to call yourself Slap?
Like a bee. We got the genesis to this, mate. Is it a bee sting or what? Yeah.
What kind of Sting are you?
Oh, you're Sting. I'm Knuckle Sandwich.
Yeah. So McGee, well, you say you didn't meet him. He directed the pilot, so you.
No, he didn't. It was Simon West.
What?
Yeah, Simon West directed the pilot. McG produced it. It was his sort of shepherding of the project.
Simon West, you worked previous to that in the Keen Eddie? Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah.
That seemed like an amazing experience.
Oh, God, that was a great time.
Because you're shooting in London.
Shooting in London. The only American in the cast. And
great fish out of water story. I thought it was fantastic.
Did you see it?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Great.
I mean, I didn't call enough people to gather enough of an audience.
Yeah.
A time slot and whatever. There's 8 million ways to die, as you know.
Such a great. Joel Wyman wrote it. It was just fantastic.
But he and Simon West were kind of at the forefront of that. No?
Simon. It had a great bunch of people together. There was Simon West, and it was made through Paramount and Paramount TV, and Joel Wyman wrote it, and Warren Littlefield was producing as well.
Right.
So we had it was great time. One of the best times I've had as an actor.
Sienna Miller.
Whatever happened to her? Yeah, I mean, she went off and became a movie star.
Was she just a British actress at that point? Had she not made the jump over?
I think she had just done a few things. She had done a couple of things as an actress, and she was really young. She was about 20 or 21. And
but you saw it. You saw her future. You saw things were coming her way. You could tell.
Well, she was such a talented girl, though. I mean, but here's the thing. When I first met her, I just, oh my God, that is the most beautiful creature I think I've ever seen. And she's like, "Can I get you a cup of tea?" And I said, "This thing is getting me a cup of tea."
And
you know what I mean?
Generous and sweet.
Yeah,
she's
yeah,
British.
just generous
so.
and sweet, and but then we started doing scenes together, and she has this kind of comedic timing. This sort of instinctive comedic back and forth timing that she has that was really, I mean, it's like she's like a Broadway actress at 21, and I thought, but not over the top, but like a real sort of, in the moment kind of thing. And I thought, this just isn't another pretty face here.
Yeah.
She was great.
Yes. But it's always interesting to talk to people when they happen to work with someone like that so early in their career.
Yeah, yeah. I remember one time though, she was kind of complaining, and she was like,
wait a second, you're saying an actress complaining?
She was complaining. She's
Weird.
wearing her Uggs and she's wearing her robe, and she's like, "How did you get up so early?" And I was like, "Listen, there are 400 girls waiting to take your place right now." And now there aren't.
Yeah. But you had to have that moment.
Yeah, I was kind of joking with her and had that moment, and then she becomes, a movie star, and I was like, ooh.
No,
yeah,
but
yeah.
what is that thing in the unemployed actor that the moment they're employed, it only takes 2 days into the job before one of them is in the hair and makeup truck bitching about their call time. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
72 hours before, it was, I can't get a fucking job. And
Yeah.
then, really, that fast, you're going to whine about your call time?
Oh, I turn on a dime, man. I'm like, I got the job. Let's see this thing.
Bullshit.
Let's
You see I'm working late
Who's
Friday?
the UPM? Whoa! Where am I going to park?
Yeah, I would think an hour drama,
Yeah.
the long, long hours that it can be,
Yeah.
you must just, show up at, where's the UPM, where's the line producer, and just start handing out cash, right? Saying, who's your buddy?
Yeah.
Late call?
God, I forgot. I haven't sent out any cash yet.
A late call?
I haven't done any cash or anything. Yeah.
On this new one.
No.
You've just been at it.
You give people cash. You can just give people cash like that.
Well, it's not illegal. You're not paying
I
mayor.
I never thought you had to pay. I just act.
You can
really,
be super sweet and nice and.
I always thought just bursting in the room with a sense of entitlement was how you, acting really insulted. I don't know.
What's with this fucking 6 a.m. call?
I might have to change.
3 days in a row.
I'm going to change my technique. I'm going to learn something here.
Yeah, there's 400 actors. Hand out the cash. Burden of Proof, is that the new one with your old pal Dana Delaney, who you did the Pasadena with?
Body Proof, yeah.
Body of Proof, I mean.
Sounds like Burden of Proof, doesn't it? There
Well,
it is.
I think that was a movie.
That was the. Was it?
I think that was the movie. I've got Bourbon of Proof.
What are these things? Movies people keep talking.
I know,
about?
right?
What are,
The things you started with, kid.
I heard they make those and they finish them and you move on to something else.
I'm going to go with Bobby of Proof now.
There you go.
I'm not going to use the correct title.
Bobby.
Bourbon of Proof? Bobby of Proof?
Bobby of Proof.
Boobies of Proof? Or Body of Proof?
Buddy of Proof.
Dana Delaney is super fantastic. You guys did a couple years on the Pasadena, right? 3 years?
1 year.
1 year. 1 year?
Yeah.
Wow, seems like it was around longer than that.
One season, yeah.
That was a primetime soap, I guess they would call them, right? But just about every drama, when you break it down, is kind of a primetime soap at some point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, now they say, well, it's either a soap or it's a procedural.
Procedural.
Right?
Yes.
Yeah.
That completely took over.
Or like single camera.
But Human Target was kind of your chance to be like a Bruce Willis, like a, right?
Yeah.
In terms of charming, funny, and...
It was also a comic book character too.
Of course.
Yeah. So that was my chance to be to be a tough guy.
But like a badass who gets the girl and says the funny quip as the guy dies,
Right.
as the bad guy dies.
Right.
So a bit of a James Bond and a bit of a...
Yeah, sort of. It's a little bit of that too. There was sort of like some James Bond stuff, and then there was, we had an episode that was sort of like, kind of, they were all sort of, they're all kind of influenced by the action genre because every one was a little movie, so it was pretty fun to do.
Right.
Love doing all the stunts. I mean, going to work and just running around and jumping and learning martial arts from all these fantastic guys. It was pretty cool, you know.
Those are the perks
Yeah, yeah,
that sometimes occur
yeah.
that make you feel like a kid.
Exactly. Every day was a kid. It's like, well, what gun am I shooting
Yeah.
now, and how are we going to do this? And
Did you develop a favorite?
driving a car, a favorite
Handgun?
Yeah, yeah. I settled with a Colt 1911.
Wow.
You know, wanted the stopping power. I'm just saying.
You wanted the make-believe stopping power of the actual weapon.
Yeah, exactly. I wanted the make-believe stopping power of the make-believe. Of the weapon with the make-believe blanks. Yeah, make-believe bullets. Yeah. Are you a gun enthusiast or?
No, but
No.
I've been trained by weapon specialists on movie sets,
Right.
and boy, it's just there. I don't. Do you ever grow out of strapping on a weapon and not feeling different?
No.
See, I don't know how that. So then, because I can't imagine strapping it on and it being mundane and thinking, how could, if that's part of your profession, sheriff,
Yeah.
detective, what have you, it's just every day the gun's on your hip. How does that not fuck with your ego just a little?
Oh, absolutely. And also, you look at the world differently because I don't know. Have you ever done the police simulator?
No.
Where they flash up on a screen, and you have like you have a taser, you have the squirt can,
Spray?
the spray, and then you have your weapon, and they run you through a variety of different scenarios. Where you walk into a hotel room and there's some sort of domestic, altercation going on, or you approach a suspicious guy in a car, and you have to know at what moment you would draw, at what moment you stop telling them, at what moment you shoot. And I remember doing that, and just for about 3 hours, just this one scenario after another, and a guy's holding like a baby and he hands it off and he takes out a knife. When do you shoot? When do you and they're life-size people moving around on a screen, and it sort of gets you worked up. And after doing that, walking out into because I did a ride-along with these police at Rampart.
Right.
The gangs division.
Rampart.
Yeah, Rampart. And it was a pretty quiet night, lucky for me. But driving around, and I just realized, oh my God, you look at things differently. You look at, what's that in your hand? Where are your hands right now?
Right.
So many things with different things you notice when you have your gun with you. It's a completely different way of looking at the world. Not only does it sort of boost up your role, but everything is different. Everything is potential. You're scanning.
I mean, I can come out of a movie. First of all, whenever I come out of a movie, I'm somehow taken, and it takes a while to decompress from. If it's an action thing, you're driving faster. Your testosterone is just crazy. So I imagine after having that kind of training, you go out into the workplace, and life is the screen.
Yeah, it is for these guys.
And it's just a matter of not shooting the baby.
But for me, it's definitely because in the Army you had a weapon, and it was always, you had to be with it all the time, and you always knew where it was, and at the end of the day you gave it back to the armorer or you cleaned it yourself. So it became such a close extension of yourself that, I think from that experience it's also like, okay, I have this with me now. And I can see how you would feel, because I talked to some people who are, police or SWAT members, and they say, I asked them the same thing. I was like, how do you guys feel when you don't have your weapons with you?
Like I do when I leave my watch at home?
Yeah. And they're like, well, some feel a little naked,
Well, that's,
that's the idea.
not whole.
Yeah. Not whole.
Did you, do you have a weapon in life of choice other than?
No, I don't. Yeah, I don't want to start that.
Because I mentioned Montaigne. He's like a champion with a handgun.
Really?
Sharpshooter kind of, whatever I'm sure there's a much better term than ones I'm using. So I'm always curious when someone has your particular background. So you spent a year on the Fringe, and are you interacting with the new master of the universe that is J.J. Abrams? Is he?
Oh, not much.
No,
I
not
mean,
really.
and that really I played. They brought me on for like half the first season, to do like a 7 of 13 sort of thing. And in the pilot, my character dies, and it was an interesting experience for me because I had to spend about 100 hours just on my back, covered in this sort of translucent kind of
Film?
Vaseline, yeah, with different like little lamb cutlets. So they had to make it look like my skin was translucent, but they also wanted me breathing, so they couldn't bring in like a big rubber dummy. So I spent about
100 hours.
I worked it out to be about 100 hours just kind of laying there. That was a lot of time, and it actually became sort of a spiritual. I mean, I just laying there. Thinking,
Little alter states.
I just don't have to. I just don't move at all, and everybody's acting and doing all the stuff around me. And I don't know if you've ever played a dead guy for a moment. There's a moment where you're laying on the ground and everybody's around you is acting. You feel a little like, oh, I wish I was in there doing that. I wish I was.
There's a movie called Hostage starring Bruce Willis.
Mm-hmm.
I am number 2 on the call sheet, and out cold, I believe, 1 hour and 17 minutes of the film.
There you go.
Yep.
Tell me about it.
And those are many, many weeks of me just on the floor. And you really, I mean, I'm not covering a film. I'm not going to a place, but talk about paying the first AD. Do you need to see me? Do you really need to see me today?
Right.
So I'm wondering, in your particular case, did you go through the hills and valleys of questioning your choice of career, questioning your choice of job, finding your peace, your inner peace in your place in the sun? Did it run the gambit, or was it a-okay from start to finish?
Ativan. That's kind of the way it. No, yeah, I did. I mean, this is where.
So this is what I do.
It's kind of over now.
Yeah.
This is where I am.
This is what I do.
I'm covered in it was just laying there for they drew veins on and did all this stuff and just kind of covered up your eyes.
Oh.
And everything, and you're just completely.
I'm not good with the prosthetics over the years. When they go over the years,
there, it was a lot of it was a lot of stuff. I mean, people have had it worse, but it was just a lot of stuff. And I couldn't get up, and it was kind of, and it's sort of cold because it.
Sure.
It's liquid and it starts sapping it. So it was just.
How long before you make peace with it?
But I'm like, it took me probably about. It took me about 6 days, 6 or 7 days.
That's a long 6 days, though.
Yeah. Initially I would figure out I could just sleep, but I wouldn't want to sleep because when I sleep my legs shake and that would kind of affect the shot. So they had to wake me up like, Mark, I got to be awake for this now. I'm like,
now when you read the script, when the agent sends over the script. And says, you said this was in the pilot.
Yeah, well, I'm reading the scenes and it doesn't, I'm reading the pilot and I'm thinking this doesn't have me in there that much. I didn't know that it was going to take, 4 or 5 hours to put me in it in the first place, and then lay there for 6, 7 hours and then have to take it off for another couple hours. So I didn't really know about that, but, it was kind of a fun part. And J.J. Abrams is pretty flexible. You don't know what's going to happen. They start a show and they try to see what works and what storylines are working and what happens. And I more or less just kind of stayed dead for the most part. Yeah.
Sweet gig is what I'm going to say.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
What the hell?
Yeah.
Well, I think that's why you didn't cross paths with our friend Sebastian. He worked up in Vancouver when the show moved to Vancouver.
Okay, probably working some later seasons.
That's why.
Yeah.
We have our audience asking you questions via the interwebs. Either from the Twitter. Are you enjoying your time on the Twitter?
Yeah, I sort of come and go.
Right.
But yeah, I'm sometimes it's pretty fun. I like to read a lot of this stuff that people say.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's some super clever people and funny and.
Right.
Great source of news as well.
Talk about the real-time news.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know that there's unless you just sit at home in front of headline news, I don't know how you're going to get it quicker, but also great sources, because there's a couple of great at locations you can follow that give you breaking news also, on top of just your average person saying, is so-and-so really dead? All right, this question comes from at Lizzie K. Gaz. Does he like playing characters who are a bit more tweaked, complex, or those who are solid citizens? Damn good question.
Solid citizens. I like, I really like playing characters who are solid citizens, and then sort of finding out their little
Peeling away the layers.
peeling away and sort of.
Because on
finding out what
Boston
their
Legal,
things are.
he was former military, right?
He was former military, yeah.
But it was a pretty square job, pretty straightforward
yeah.
initially.
Well, I remember sort of watching, because I remember thinking about, okay, here's the show, and there's Shatner, and there's Spader, and I remember thinking, how am I going to kind of fit into? I mean, there's already two leading men on the show, and how can I sort of
Steal scenes?
steal scenes? How can I come in here and not be this lughead, who's? So I thought, well, I kind of realized I've got to have a specific thing for this character. He's got to have something up with him. David Kelly didn't know that I'd been in the military before. That just sort of something he remembered him watching it, thinking, oh wow, he stands with his feet together. It's right in that he's a Marine or something. But I just made him extremely uptight. Like I based him on somebody that I knew. But because I kind of thought he's got to be sort of the Frank Burns,
Yes.
And that was a way for it to kind of work in that ensemble.
That's a great choice.
Yeah. So
I never thought of that reference. That is a great
kind
choice.
of the Frank Burns, So
That's pretty damn fantastic. So you actually, as it turns out, prefer the even if they are straightforward, they become a little tweaked as we get to know them a little bit.
That's what I like to do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, you asked on Twitter, what the hell is a T5?
What's T5?
Yeah. A T5 is as it was then explained to you on Twitter, I'm sure you know by now, but it's a way that we ask 5 questions from the audience, and they specifically design them for you as they are your fans. So they tailor make them. And we call them a Tweet 5. T5, T5, T5 forever now. Thank you, Dave Keckner. This T5 written to you from the Twitterverse at Scarlet Angel. This or that, Coke or Pepsi, no correct answer, only you know. Ready?
Yeah.
Daytime TV or prime time?
Prime time.
Bates or Shatner?
Bates.
Blonde, brunette, or redhead?
All the above.
Hello. Boxers, briefs, or commando? How's that anyone's business? How is that a legitimate?
Boxers.
Briefs or commando?
Clean briefs.
Well, I tip my hat.
Do I need to specify?
I like that answer. I like that answer, yes. Lawyer show or sci-fi? Not sure they're called lawyer shows. Lawyer shows or sci-fi?
I like to watch sci-fi more than lawyer shows.
And what have you enjoyed as of late?
As an actor, lawyer, I enjoy playing lawyer shows.
No, to watch, the sci-fi.
To watch, probably sci-fi, yeah.
What have you seen that you like in the last 10 years?
Star Trek.
What the hell?
That was great. Yeah.
Yeah. Did you see the newer version of Battlestar Galactica? Because people, sci-fi fans, raved about that.
No.
I didn't see it either, but boy, did people.
I have about 5 people a day telling me I have to watch Doctor Who.
And now
So
Doctor Who is all the
yes.
rage. And has been.
Yeah.
It has
Yeah.
been. But this is a new version.
This is the English version of Doctor Who. Was there an American version?
No, this is the BBC version, but
Oh,
it's been
BBC.
on since like 2005 or something.
Right. Yeah.
Right. Wasn't the original also?
Well, the original, I mean, it's been on for
BBC?
almost 50 years, but everyone means starting in 2005.
Right.
Yeah.
What
See,
TV
everyone's yelling at me.
Yeah, of
Why are
course.
you watching Doctor Who yet?
What TV shows do you DVR?
I haven't really. What
Or do you
Daily
catch-
Show?
Okay.
The Daily Show.
That's a great one when you're on the elliptical, if I may.
Is it?
It's a great way to kill a half hour.
It's fun.
on the
You know what's
elliptical.
fun? I'll sit at home and just laugh out loud and just by myself. And
It
just
is-
kind
it
of
is-
echoes around the house.
I hope they win Emmys. It's Emmy night. Emmys are happening right
Emmys
now.
are happening right now.
I hope they win again.
Yeah. So do I.
I've become friendly with one of the executive producers, and
Right.
he has 7 Emmys.
Yeah.
And I said, so, what are you doing? He said, well, I gave 2 to my parents.
Yeah.
Parents have 2.
What do you think James L. Brooks does with all his
And
Emmys
Bill Maher too. I like Bill Maher's show.
at Oscars?
You do like Bill Maher's show.
Oh yeah.
Are you a political animal, as they say?
No. I sort of like to watch it and
Become an audience to it.
yeah.
To those-
Vicariously, I like to think that I could You know, you watch a show, you watch superheroes, and you think, oh, I wish I could
Fly?
do this. Yeah.
Uh-huh.
I watch their shows like I watch superheroes. I wish I could,
Be that savvy about.
first of all, have a strong opinion. You know, secondly, be able to articulate it as clearly as they do, and as forcefully when some annoying Republican is chattering in your face at the same
Isn't
time.
that one of the
I think
things?
it's fascinating the way they do that.
Yeah. Isn't that one of the things coming up through the Army that they have to take away in order to create a team effort, which is individual opinions?
Oh yeah, it's not really. It's sort of a waste of time.
Right.
Yeah.
You don't often hear a
They're a luxury.
private first class say, you know, I think, and that's the end of the conversation.
Right.
Right.
Yeah. Although post-Vietnam, there was really this backlash that they wanted to hear everybody's opinions. Like, I went in the Army. It was 1983 when I first went to West Point, and there was more of a you know, an encouragement to ask your soldiers what they think or what their opinion was. It wasn't going to mean anything, but it was like, let's let them get that out of their
A
system.
false sense.
Yeah. What do you think?
Yeah.
No? Okay. Pack it up. Let's go.
Yeah,
We're going
it
to
will
do it
teach you to
anyway.
keep your opinions to yourself.
Right.
I think it's another passive-aggressive way of saying shut the fuck up.
It was. You could spend your energy having an opinion, or you could shine your boots. Whatever you want to do.
Yeah, whichever one you want to do first.
Yeah.
All right, another T5 coming your way. This one from @BoohooLoco40.
T5, T5, T5 forever now.
Still love you, Dave Keckner.
He's funny.
Eddie Arlett, Christopher Chance.
Eddie Arlett.
Ooh, I like that answer. Who's tougher, attorneys or assassins? Gosh.
Some attorneys are pretty.
Depends on your definition of
pretty tough. Yeah.
May not be able to wear a bulletproof vest quite as well. However,
No.
some of them are packing.
And some are sociopaths, lawyers as well.
Got to be to make peace with what they do, or they just end up being.
Well, you could sort of. I mean, I think it's really because Harry's Law. We played that everybody was sort of I played that my character wasn't that empathetic, or at least he didn't sort of show it. But a lot of characters on these legal shows are really personally involved in their cases, and I just thought, how could you do that?
Wouldn't you have to be like a doctor and disassociate
at
yourself?
a certain point? Yeah, that might just happen. Like you don't want to get to know the person you're going to try to kill, right? So
Technically.
yeah.
What's preferable, a keen spirit or a solid right hook?
Oh, that's from a Keen Eddie episode.
That's an actual lift.
Yeah,
Pretty cool.
I think a keen spirit.
Who's a better villain, Shatner or Asante?
I would have to.
I used to do an impression of Armand Asante, and that was it. But that was the extent of it. Yeah, right? Big. He'd choose more scenery than Shatner, technically.
Yeah, he does.
Yeah.
He does. And he doesn't adjust his fire either. If you're right up close, it's just, Shatner knows how to kind of play for his his stage.
Right.
A little this could take the scene, right?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
But Armand Asante is he's a little bigger. It depends. If you want to get crazy, I don't know what the guy's going to do next. Well, either of them would probably do with that. I'd go with Asante.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's going to bring a little more crazy. Who's a better villain? Oh, we did that just now. Better in a fight, Pete the Dog or Jackie Earl Haley? Tough one.
It's not the size of the. It's the dog in the fight in the dog, right? Yeah, I think Jackie Earl Haley would figure out a way. Yeah,
I like that a bunch.
the coolest kid. Yeah, he's the coolest kid in town. Remember from Bad News Bears?
Bad News Bears.
It's Kelly Leaks.
Nice.
He's the coolest kid in town. Yeah.
Did you ever do that for him?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Comedy heroes?
Oh yeah. Louis C.K., Bill Burr, Kevin Pollak. What else? What else is there?
Are you enjoying the Louis C.K. the new show?
Yeah, I've only seen the first episode. I have it taped though. The
First episode of the season or first episode period
I think I've seen just one episode.
of the entire 3 years?
No, of the third season.
Okay.
I watched the first season straight through.
Right.
Loved it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just so nice to see any artist in traditional media being allowed to write, direct, act, edit. I mean, that's just so unparalleled.
Yeah.
Even if they had to give him a tiny, 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 tiny budget in order to justify allowing him, still they allowed him, and I think that's pretty miraculous.
Yeah, it's just really amazing, and I just love the way it's not. And the great thing about it is it's just such fine little threads between his stand-up and the actual story. It's not, you don't need to have this solid connection from his A story and his B story.
Right.
You know, you don't really know how they relate. You have to.
He's breaking
you have to
all
kind
the
of-
molds,
You got to
let's be
imagine
honest.
and connect the dots a little bit. A lot like those, European films where that he's heavily influenced by. I think. You're like, oh wait, they're just kind of sitting around, but no, they're not.
Right.
There's something else going on there.
What about more writing, and what about directing some of the TV drama that you're doing? Any interest? You've probably had more than enough opportunity. Also, you have agents who say, with this series, I think I can get you direct an episode or two.
Right.
Agents throw that in your face. What do you do with that?
No, I haven't really been on a series long enough to be directing them. I mean, and I haven't gone into one really wanting to direct episodic TV. And maybe I will, but right now I sort of feel a little more into writing and just kind of acting and working that out. I think if the day job is working out pretty good, and I just want to kind of save some money, and if I end up directing something, it might be something that I've created or written myself.
Right.
But directing TV looks like a lot of work. You know what I mean?
A lot more work that's not as rewarding or thanked, I would say, as a film where it's a director's medium.
Yeah, it looks like a lot of work.
But it seems like a great education.
Mm-hmm, absolutely. And a lot of guys, some people say you really should do it as an actor, just to hear what it sounds like when an actor is like, oh, really? Or I
would think so.
I would think so. Sometimes you put yourself in their position and you're like, wow, they've got to tell 5 different actors who've been doing this role for 3 years to give them a little bit of direction. And how do you deal with that when
they look right through you because you're that week's director?
Right, and they just look through you and say,
"You gonna be here next week?" 'Cause I am.
That's what you want. Yeah. Is that what you want? Yeah, but Dana Delaney's interesting. I mean, I worked with her for 10 years ago, and she said, Mark, just because they're the guest director doesn't mean that you're the host actor. I mean, you still have to sort of, even though they're a director and they come on, because directors don't want to hear that, but sometimes you have to really look out for your own character as well. So that's going on when a TV director comes on. So it's a little difficult for them.
How many of the body of proof have you shot?
We've shot 4 so far.
Are you aware how rare it actually is to go from series to series the way you have? That it's not the norm? That there aren't many actors who do this? Or are you just in it and you don't think about that shit? Because going through it, it's just screaming at me. This doesn't happen, literally.
Really?
Yeah. It's called a hell of a run, a hell of a ride, and I hope you're
It's a hell of a ride.
Yeah, right?
Yeah, it's going really well. A lot of our guest actors will remind me of that. That's the greatest thing about episodic TV, I think, is the guest actors that come on. And I remember one time I was doing a state, because other actors really sort of keep you. They let you know the reality of all the situation. You might feel like, oh, it's just work, and I'm working really hard. I was doing not a play. It was children's, Young Playwrights Festival a few years ago, and the Blank Theater Company puts it on. And I was outside. This is when I was smoking. It must have been about 5 years ago. I'd just done 2 seasons of Boston Legal, and I was talking to another actor who was in the play, and he said, so you've been 2 seasons on David Kelly's show. What's it like? And I said, wow, it's been really, really great. I just really, enjoyed myself. And he's like, wow, it's great. And are you doing a 3rd season? Are they asking you back? I'm like, yeah. they're not using my character that much, but I think I'm gonna go back and do it and do a third season. He's like, that's really fucking big of you. And I thought, oh my God.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Well, when you're in
You know?
when you're in the middle of the storm, you have no perspective.
Yeah.
None.
Yeah.
Zero.
Yeah.
I mean, that's
Yeah.
the thing about it takes you 2 days on a job to start bitching about your call time.
Right.
Because
yeah.
once you're back in the saddle, you have all
Yeah.
those. The moment you're employed, you're thinking about your life.
Yeah.
And why don't you have it anymore?
Exactly.
I mean,
yeah.
that's the thing.
Yeah.
Well, and they also, yeah, there aren't a lot of actors that, looking through the body of work, who the networks will invest in, quite frankly.
Mm.
Different networks. You weren't just the favorite son of one network,
Mm-hmm.
as it turns out. I just think it's quite a.
It's kind of nice.
Yeah.
I sort of feel like, wow, I've gone from, because I remember being just out of the Army and wanting to act and going on an audition and some NYU student making this film and saying, you're not getting any younger, dude. So you sure this is? So it's kind of nice being able to go into a different job in a profession like this and winning a lottery and then being able to kind of prove yourself to people as an established kind of commodity in one aspect. So, yeah, it feels pretty good.
Yeah. Well, congrats.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I have one last tweet 5 for you. You've gone 90 minutes. Did I not say it would? Seems like 3 hours.
Wow. Yeah. Yeah.
Patty Friss at Patty Friss.
T5.
This is going to be a
T5,
tough one.
T5 forever now.
Don't make that face, Kevin. Spader or Shatner? That's Sophie's choice.
It is, isn't it?
You can't.
Yeah.
Even, I don't think you can answer that and survive. Because they'll
No,
both.
but you know what? I would have to take responsibility for the situation. I would take Shatner and kill Spader myself.
Wow. Wow.
That's what I would have.
Nice.
Yeah, I wouldn't want to have that on my conscience.
Right.
Or somebody else's. I take care of it.
Yeah. I respect that. Marlena or Hope?
Marlena.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Here's the most.
She was the one that was locked in the cellar and was possessed by the devil.
So, you don't really have a choice.
Locked in the catacombs of Paris.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Here's the most difficult question that's come your way in these 92 minutes.
Right.
Gel or mousse? That is the correct answer. Let's go on to the next
Score.
one. Nice. Kathy Bates or Julie Bowen?
I gotta go with Julie Bowen there.
And I call her Thayer Hall.
Oh, Thayer Hall. Old school.
Right. Yeah, we talked off the air about Julie Bowen's ability to lactate on command, which I've discussed on this show before.
Yeah.
Which
Can she really do that?
I did not bear witness on the set of
Right.
Ed when I was told this was the case, but Tom Cavanaugh and her had such conviction to this not being a bit.
Really?
But you had to immediately go, oh no, of course you can,
Yeah.
and not pregnant or just can do it.
She had she actually on our set, she was pregnant and she had to give birth to our child in a scene. And she did a whole scene where she was pregnant and she gave birth and
You've never seen an actor work that hard.
and she just and then she walked outside, got into a car, went straight to the hospital and had her own child.
What?
Yeah.
Whoa.
Right?
Whoa.
And I was a little weird as like playing her husband,
Yes.
being like, good luck with the real thing. That was a great scene, by the way.
Yeah.
But good luck with the real version.
Way to fake it. Go do it for real.
Yeah, go get him, kid.
And also, was there a moment during any of the takes when she's being brilliant that is part of you is going, is she really?
Well, she was. I mean, she could have given birth right there.
Yeah.
On set, and I think they had a nurse there. I don't know.
Because she was pushing, technically, or breathing. She was
acting
doing.
like she was pushing. Yeah.
Wow.
Right.
There is your life imitating art.
This has been fun, man.
Please.
Glad to get to know you.
Now, it's been my pleasure. You mentioned before the show started that you had seen a couple of snippets of the show, other episodes. Rarely, though, does someone watch the show and then come on as a guest who tells me they got all the way to the end of an episode, because they do tend to be long, so that they know, if I haven't already told them, about the Larry King game. Are you familiar with the Larry King game? All right, well, you're about to, and it's really exciting. It's how we end the show.
Okay.
So there's either the good news or the bad news. This is your camera. I'm going to need you to recreate that magical moment where Larry shares a little something about himself, and then he goes to the phone. So it's like a useless piece of information, and then Sheboygan, hello. And if the name of the city is funny sounding, it's not going to hurt. But the rules are, I want a bad Larry King impression. I'm not looking for a good one, so you're off the hook.
Okay.
A bad one is funny to me, so I want a bad one. And then Larry shares something about himself, not about you. Again, he's been around since prehistoric times, so you can go back into his life or talk about something current. And then a funny named city on the phone that he goes to.
Okay.
You got it?
All right.
Okay. When you're ready, that is your camera. You will look straight into it and give us that little bumper moment that Larry likes to share King's things, or whatever he calls them, and then he goes to the phone.
All right.
Ready when you are.
I once stood on a kitchen table and stepped on 4 eggs, hard-boiled, balancing myself throughout the entire meal. Toulouse, Wyoming. Go ahead.
That's what we call an original Larry King game, ladies and Jews. See, so many people will go right to the genitalia, they'll go to the suspenders being attached somehow.
Oh, yeah.
But no.
My balls hung so low.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I'm soaking in them. You gave us a beautiful little pastel, like a painting. It all came together. It was a visual. It was absolutely fantastic.
Good,
and just seeing Larry Twinkletoes on the eggs
Right.
is what I take away
Balancing
from it. Yeah. Can't thank you enough.
My pleasure.
Tell Ms. Delaney I said hello.
Will do.
And I look forward to guest starring on the show so that I can come in and have fun and watch you guys work.
Come in and bring something out of us. Yeah, do it.
I would love to inspire you on your own set.
Excellent, man.
Thank you very much, honestly.
Thanks, Kevin.
Been a fan for a while. Now, sit there uncomfortably while I wrap things up for the folks at home, if you would. All right. For those of you at home, here's good news. We're not going to do a show next Sunday. Ouch! Yeah, we're going to take next Sunday off, and the Sunday after is in question. But we will come back with some exciting shows in October. Matt Walsh, who we're crazy in love with through so many things, most recently Veep on the HBO. Tony La Russa, your baseball fans, is fighting for the same Sunday, so I'm not sure how I'm going to work that out. And some other great shows coming up, so keep your eyes on the schedule for shows in the future. Go to the iTunes and write us a review, you son of a bitch, right? Subscribe, for fuck's sake. How many times do I... Kidding. So that is our show, and sorry for the late delay if you joined us live. Until next time, which will be in a week or two, and as always, get out of my face.